There's two different ways you can parent things, right? You can just drag things into the hip pole, or the hip pole under the hip, and that usually works. But sometimes when you have animated properties, you're just like, you know what, that hip pole is really driving me crazy. It's not in the right place. I kind of want it to be parented somewhere else. If you've already started working on a walk cycle and you try to drag parent something into another object, a lot of times things will just jump out of place. Maybe you've experienced this before. But I'll show you that you can actually use something called SetParent, which is underneath the character menu. Under commands, you can change, or one of these says SetParent. It allows you to change which object is the parent of what. And it does it with all the keyframes intact. So it's a lot easier to move things after you've done any animation. So, all right, so now that we have that hip pole attached and it's connected, I want to start moving things into where they're actually going to be for their starting positions, and I want to make sure these are all frozen transformations. So waist control down to here, we're going to just go down to freeze all. Now everything should be zeroed out. Yes, yes it is. All right, so now it's time to move over to the other leg. We're just going to make the same thing. We're going to add 3 controllers for the hip to the knee to the heel, and then we're going to add a toe. In fact, maybe what we can do is just copy these over and then just use the same size and width and everything, and then I'll just take off all these. We'll just use the same size controllers, and I'm just going to make a copy of the whole chain, and I'll remove the IK tags for now, and we'll just add those back in after we have these zeroed out to their other joint counterparts. So each one of these I did a individual copy of, and then I moved it over. I unfroze their transformations just by going down here and doing unfreeze, and then I zeroed them out to their new joint counterparts. I do want to change their names though, so I'm going to go to the naming tool. And then we'll just make sure that we're replacing the L underscore with R underscore in match case. There we go. And so now at this point, what we can do is make our new chain up here. We'll just parent everything to it like this. Oops. Okay. And then we're going to do that same thing where we add the PSR constraints to these, and we're going to create a goal like this. So we'll do a right, heel, goal. All right, so let me just set those up. We're going to do those, the same thing we did before on the left leg. We're just going to do new PSR constraints down here on these. And just do it like this. Just grab one and then click drag all the way down to the toe. Click PSR on. And for each of these PSR constraints, you want to make sure you grab the corresponding one. The hip goes to the hip. The knee goes to the knee. If you find yourself singing dry bones in your head while you're doing this, I would not blame you. It's happened to me many times. Okay, so let's just test that out. We got the heel doing its thing. We got the knee doing its thing. Okay, these look like they're a little different from each other, and that's okay, because we have an IK chain already set up on that other one. So before we set up our IK chain and set up our goal, once again, what we need to do is just give it a little bit of hinting. We want to hint at where we want this bending to happen. There we go. And now I'm going to make a copy of this, heel, and then we're going to add a constraint tag, attaching the PSR to that right heel goal. And now what we can do is add that IK chain under the character tags, IK, make sure the heel is the end and the goal is the right heel goal. There we go. So just to test if it works, it does. Let's just make sure we add that hip pole just like this, and let's just parent it to the hip. So now we've got 2 beautiful controllers, 2 beautiful chains. I do want to change the color of the right leg just for fun. I'm going to move this up just to match its little brother there. And let's zero out all of these as well. So on the left hip and right hip, So let's move that pole vector forward just a little bit. So it's just like its other one, right in front of it. And then let's set parent to the hip. And now what we can do is position this just like its other, the other one. Let's just line them up as best as we can and zero out all of our transformations, freeze all the transformations. So now this is the 0 point for both feet. Now what I want to do is change the color of some of these controllers. So the right hip, let's just change the color to maybe like a light blue. So now we have an orange and a blue leg. The hip is there, just so that if we do want to, we can rotate at the hip. Or if we want to do any kind of stretching or something, we can do that. And so let's just try out our legs a little bit, just to test. Yes, so far, so good. So now what we can do is we can grab this waist control and we can sit her. You know what? We need these goals outside of the waist control, inside of the root, but outside the waist control. So let's set parent, or just drag them to the root. And now when we move that waist control, she sits down. It's really fun. You can rotate her hips. She's got such long legs that it's such, she'll move her whole knee with it, which is totally fine. But, we can do some other fun stuff like make sure that these are frozen. Okay, we're all good here. Let's move these, if she's got really long legs, we can do things like this. Pose her legs a little bit more. Whoa. A little bit more outward like this, and we can rotate it like this. And maybe we'll move that pole vector a bit. Something was happening with these hip poles where if I tried to move them, they were going really out of control. And I think that had something to do with where they were parented. So instead of having these parented to their corresponding hips, I think that was adding some confusion to the IK system, what we're going to do instead is have these parented to their heel goal corresponding counterparts. All right. So on the hip pole now, if we move the heel up like this, it moves with it, but then you can also rotate the heel and the knee will kind of rotate with it. And that's kind of nice. So this is kind of what we want. Let's back that up. I'm going to go ahead and save. Now look, what we can do is we can move these controls out, these heel goal controls, and maybe what I'll do is I'll even kind of increase the size. No, maybe not. We can move these out, and then we can do some really fun posing with her. Her legs, we can do it like this. Maybe move one back. And then this pole, maybe I want it to move a little bit forward like this. So she's not doing this weird spread eagle thing. But now if we do some cool rotations, she'll kind of like move with it. So there we go. All right, so let's add some more controls. We're going to go through the spine next, and we're going to do some arms next as well. So let's zero these out. Zero out the hip pole. There we go. And let's zero this out as well. All right, ready to move on to the spine and the arms and fingers. Okay, so now it's time to add a few more controls through the spine, up through right about the head. And then we're going to do the arms and fingers. And we're just going to get through this one real quick because we are just going to be using all of the existing angles of all of these joints. So it should be pretty quick. Let's start with the spine. We're going to go up our splines, and we can really do whatever we want, but I'd like to do, for the spine, I'll do some end sides, and we'll do PSR constraint, and then make sure it's on the XZ axis right here. This is good. Do another one here. While we're at it, let's make sure these are colored. So I'll just make these yellow. Really doesn't matter what color you choose. This is just for you or for anyone else who's going to be using your rig. So there we go. Let's do another one for the chest. Just repeating that process of constraint tags, or I'm sorry, dragging it down, parenting it, and then pressing the PSR 0. It's just easier than going into the coordinates menu and then hitting 0 a bunch of times. But right now, this one's on the wrong axis, so let's do X, Z, Y. Okay, this is our chest. So let's make this one a little bit, I think that's actually fine. And we'll rename these. Spine 01, spine 02, spine 03, or chest. Oops. Okay. We are going to make some at the clavicles, shoulders, elbows, wrists. We're literally just click dragging, not to the tips, but all the way down these lines. And I do have to rename these, so maybe we'll just I probably do not have to type in the L underscore because I could use the naming tool to just add those after the fact. And then this is our last one for this chain. And then we'll just grab all of those. Did I get it all? PSR 0, and then we'll just make sure these are on the X, Z planes. Change the size down quite a bit. And we'll go through all of these and we'll change the sizes. But the clavicle, I do want these to now be circles. It's an end side. So I'm probably going to have to redo that. So I wanted these to be circles. That's the thing about using nulls instead of end sides and splines, is that you actually need to have the actual type of spline that you want in each of these areas. I'm going to make this 10 centimeters for now. PSR looks like it needs to be bigger than that. So, all right, so we have a clavicle bone now. It's at the XZ plane. Let's change this to blue. Call left clavicle. And we're just going to go down the line here, because I do want circles for all of these. And instead of just typing L underscore wrist for all of these and L underscore pinky, I'm just going to do wrist, pinky, pinky 02. We'll go back up and do pinky 01. And then we'll grab the controllers, we'll zero them out. Forgot the elbow. That's zeroed out. Let's change these so that they're white. There's the shoulder. All right, shoulder, elbow, wrist, and then all the way down through the pinky. And change these to white. Just makes it really, really easy to find. And then we do want to go ahead and change the size of each of these to match a little bit better where their controls actually are. Okay. So we need to add some more for the ring fingers. We're going to use the ones from the pinky. We can just grab those. PSR constrain, or PSR, zero them out, reset PSR. Okay. Do the same thing for these. So it's not a hard process. It's just takes some time. It just takes a little bit of time. So something you just got to do before you're ready to animate. But then once you've got it done, you're ready to animate. So let's do this again once more for the thumb. We need to rename these, I realize. There we go. There's all those controllers. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab all of these all the way down from the shoulder. You can go up and just have these turned off to just be, you know, the only things you can see are the splines, but it's just going to be quicker for me to just grab them like this, and then we'll go to the naming tool again. If it's not already in your hotbar, you can just do Shift-C, replace name. I do want to add a prefix. There we go. All right, so now we've got that left side kind of figured out. We're going to make these a chain. Elbow, wrist. Just keep in mind what needs to be parented to what. The ring needs to be parented to the wrist. Middle, wrist. I'm going to just do a quick set parent for these. And I'll just work on the parenting right here. So the left middle, 1, so 2 and 3, like this. Pointer 1, 2, and 3, and then thumb is 2, 2, and then to 1. All right, now we're ready to do our PSR constraints on the left arm and the spine. Let's make sure that this is outside of and parented to the waist. So we can reduce these hips, and we'll just start with these. Add some constraint tags all the way down the line. Select them all and just click PSR. All right. So much tedium, but at this point we know what we're doing. We just need to do it, and there's no mystery to it. It's just grabbing all of these and turning on the PSR constraints. And now what we need to do is just go through each one of these and make sure that the corresponding joint or controller is in the right constraint tag. So here we go. Spine 01, it's going to be this one. Spine 02, I'm just going to do this, and you guys can, we'll fast forward, but as long as you've got the idea right, this is what we got to do. Which one's this? Elbow 1. It's a pain, huh? It's a pain. But I'd rather realize the tips do not need PSR constraints. So that's good to know. And it separates them out a little bit. Middle, it's going to be middle 02. Middle 01. Ring 03. I missed a couple here. Ring 02, 3, 2. Pointer. And the thumb. We have to do this whole thing again on the left or on the right side. But what I'm going to try to do is copy and flip them. That might not work though, because they need to be zeroed out to their parents. So the only thing about zeroing your joints is that it will affect how these controllers have to be set up. Okay, thumb 02. It's okay. We'll just do it quickly, and that way we don't run into any problems. Okay, so now let's just test that out. We're gonna twirl this back up. There's the chest. Very nice. Very, very, very nice. Oh, there it is. All right, so it looks like everything is set up correctly. Just going to double check on all these fingers. Yep. All right, so I'm also going to show you one other thing that you can do. This is called selection filters. Under the select menu, if you turn on selection filters and you turn off everything, do none, and then just do spline and null. Now if I try to drag, click on anything, it will not click on anything except for what our controllers are. This is exactly how you want to work when you're doing animation. You don't ever want to have to click on one of these on accident. Let me turn off the lines as well while we're working, because this is going to be a lot easier to see what we're doing. Hey, we've got ourselves a rig so far. We're just got to do the other side, and we're going to do the head. So let's reduce that down. Actually, we're gonna bring back up the left clavicle, and we're just gonna have the chest up. The left side's done. So what we need to do is just make a circle that goes to the other side. So maybe what I'll do is just grab one of these, go to the right clavicle, PSR 0 it out, and we'll just work down the line the way that we did on the other side. Give it a little bit of a different color, just for the clavicle. The other ones will be white as well. Okay, so now we've done the right side, the arm all the way down to the fingers. And, you know, if you haven't lost your mind from just kind of having to do that same thing over and over again with the PSR constraints, congrats, we're just about ready to animate. She just needs to have a couple more controls for the head and then also for her eyes and her mouth. So we're going to do that next.